Sagittarius, serious warning. Someone prayed for you last night for a shocking reason. There are nights when the stars don't just shine, they speak. They shift, they listen, they wait. And Sagittarius, last night was one of those nights. Your name wasn't just thought of. It was spoken, softly, deliberately, in a prayer so sincere it cracked open the veil between worlds. Someone, perhaps tied to your blood, or maybe a soul who once loved you deeply, sent a quiet but powerful longing into the universe. And what they asked for wasn't small. It wasn't superficial. They asked that you be protected, that your truth no longer be delayed, and that your path be cleared of anything that dims your fire. You weren't meant to find this message by accident. This is alignment. You felt it, haven't you? A stirring that won't quiet. An ache in your chest that doesn't come from sadness, but from something calling you deeper. You're not restless without reason. Your spirit is sensing the wind shift. A portal is opening. Not one of chaos but of clarity. And the gatekeeper? It's your own becoming. This is not a warning to fear. It is a warning to wake up. Because the life you're meant to live is arriving faster than you expected. You Sagittarius are a wild flame. But lately you've been burning in silence. Shrinking to fit roles that were too small, too heavy. You've compromised parts of yourself just to keep peace, but at the cost of inner alignment. That stops here. This moment, this message is your soul's reminder. You are not here to survive others' expectations. You are here to blaze trails no one else dares to walk. What's coming will not just shift your path. It will demand your truth. And it's time. So take a breath. If something in you recognizes this like a whisper you've been waiting for, don't push it away. This is sacred. Leave a sign for the universe. A comment, a like, a share. Not to support me, but to tell yourself, I hear it. I'm ready. I'm no longer pretending to be smaller than I am. Because what's next isn't just a new chapter. It's the moment you return to yourself. Gate 1. A spiritual wake-up call. Sagittarius and the path to self-forgiveness and empowered truth. Sagittarius, you've always had a heart that beats for more than yourself. A seeker of meaning, of expansion, of something greater than what the eye can see. But even you, the bold traveler of truths, can forget that healing is not always a grand gesture. Sometimes it begins in silence, in the heaviness of your chest, the sudden racing of your heart, or the stillness that unsettles you without explanation. And maybe lately you've felt exactly that. An inner shift without logic, as if something sacred is awakening inside you. That's not restlessness. That's your soul asking to be seen, heard, and unchained from the weight it's carried far too long. There's a message you need to hear now. Not from the stars, but from within your own fire. You've spent years lighting torches for others, being the motivator, the fighter, the one who keeps moving forward even when every part of you screamed to stop. You've sacrificed parts of yourself to maintain peace, to protect others, or to not let anyone down. But now, Sagittarius, the universe is shifting, and it's turning its gaze directly to you. You are being asked to choose differently, not to fight harder, but to finally allow yourself to be human, to feel the anger that you've spiritualized, to admit the hurt that you've disguised with jokes, to grieve the chapters that closed too abruptly. You have the strength to be honest with yourself. You always have. But now you are called to use that strength in a new way, not as a sword but as a key. And the door it unlocks? Self-forgiveness. Because what no one talks about is the weight Sagittarius carries from their past choices. The paths not taken. The loves not fought for. The words swallowed in moments when the truth would have changed everything. You call yourself forward-thinking, but even you look back sometimes. You wonder, if I had just been braver then, where would I be now? And this is the sacred shift. The moment where you release the need to rewrite your past and begin rewriting how you treat yourself in the present. Someone in your past still lingers. A friend, a lover, even a family member. Someone who does not know how to love you freely. Perhaps they mask control as concern. Perhaps they loved you conditionally, placing rules around your worth. You've tried to rise above it. You've made peace with it on the surface. But underneath, their energy still echoes. Not because you're weak, but because Sagittarius rarely forgets the people who once felt like home. But now you're remembering. You are not here to live small. You are not here to twist your truth into someone else's comfort. You are here to walk in your own fire. and to let that light both guide and protect you. And when someone's energy feels off, when you leave a conversation feeling less than you were before, you must listen. Your soul is too wise for you to keep pretending not to notice. This is your call to stop shrinking, to stop bending, to stop enduring. And yes, there is someone who sees your growth and feels threatened by it. Their jealousy is not your problem to fix. Their fear is not your responsibility to soothe. This is not about blame. It's about energy. When someone is stuck and you keep evolving, you become a mirror. And not everyone is ready to see themselves. That's okay. You can forgive them. You can even love them. But you do not need to stay close to them. Write this down somewhere today. I, Sagittarius, choose peace over performance. I choose truth over tolerance. I choose freedom over familiarity. That is how your next breakthrough begins. And this week, this very week, a signal will come. It may be subtle. A conversation, a dream, a moment that brings clarity you didn't know you were waiting for. A whisper that says, "You are not who you were, and you never have to be again." If that moment comes, say yes to it. Not because you're ready, but because you are worthy. That's all it takes. Gate 2. Shedding the old relationships, energetic entanglements, and the courage to outgrow what once felt like home. Sagittarius, there's something you've sensed for a while now, even if you couldn't put it into words. A subtle shift, a friction in familiar spaces, a quiet unease in relationships you once thought were safe. It's like wearing a jacket that used to fit, but now feels tight around the shoulders. You haven't done anything wrong. You've simply outgrown the version of yourself that accepted too little, gave too much, and tolerated what no longer resonates with your soul. You're the Zodiac's truth teller, but sometimes even you hesitate to speak the hardest truth. That love is not always enough to keep a bond alive. Not when that love starts to drain you. Not when you feel smaller in their presence. Not when your growth makes them uncomfortable. There is someone, or perhaps more than one person, whose energy no longer aligns with yours. Could be a friend, a partner, or even a family member. This person may not be malicious. They may even say all the right things. But deep down you feel it. A tension, a pushback, a subtle need to dim your own light to keep the peace. You smile through the discomfort, but when you walk away you feel heavy, tired, disconnected from yourself. That's your intuition talking. And it's time to listen. Sagittarius, you have a gift for inspiring others, but you weren't put on this earth to rescue people who refuse to grow. You weren't born to carry relationships that depend on your silence to survive. You don't owe anyone your joy, your light, or your energy if the cost is your peace. Let's talk about something that most won't admit. Sometimes the people closest to us unconsciously sabotage our progress. Not because they're evil, but because your evolution forces them to look at the ways they haven't changed. When you start healing, they feel exposed. When you move forward, they feel left behind. And without realizing it, they start throwing shade in the form of concern, guilt, or passive disapproval. Here's the sacred truth. Just because someone loves you doesn't mean they know how to love you well. And your growth will always challenge the ones who benefit from your self-abandonment. So you're standing at a threshold now. You can keep the peace and betray your spirit, or you can speak your truth and risk disappointing those who were never meant to walk with you forever. This isn't about drama. This is about alignment. Ask yourself, who makes me feel seen, not just supported? Who listens when I speak from my soul, not just when I'm easy to understand? Who celebrates my growth instead of shrinking from it? Those are your people. The rest? Love them from afar. Wish them peace. But release them. Not in bitterness, but in clarity. This shedding is necessary, Sagittarius. You're making space. Not just for new people, but for a new version of you, one that no longer needs to apologize for wanting more. And it's not just people. It's habits too. Environments. Energies. That job that pays the bills but drains your spirit. That social circle that talks but never listens. That version of yourself who plays small to avoid conflict. Let it all fall away. Because here's the twist. What you're letting go of isn't the past. It's who you had to become just to survive it. There is also something karmic surfacing. A shadow figure, possibly a feminine energy, who once stood between you and a truth you needed. This may be someone who projected insecurity as judgment, who subtly undermined your voice, or who played a role in separating you from a relationship or opportunity that mattered. The purpose was not to destroy you, but to push you into remembering your own power. And now that chapter is closing. Everything they tried to block is returning to you, but only if you are ready to receive it with open, unclenched hands. Forgiveness is your bridge now, not to go back, but to move forward clean. You do not need to keep engaging. You do not need closure. You only need this realization. I no longer shrink myself to be loved. I no longer delay my peace for the comfort of others. I choose alignment. I choose clarity. I choose me. And when you say that, when you live that, you ignite something irreversible. Your life shifts. You start receiving from places you didn't expect. New connections emerge, rooted in honesty, depth, and respect. You finally stop surviving relationships and begin thriving in them. Sagittarius, what's next is not a repeat of the past. But to get there, you must be willing to close the door fully, not halfway. Not cracked open for what-ifs. Fully. Because the person you're becoming deserves a life that reflects your full light. Not the dimmed version others were comfortable with. Gate 3. A soul-level love and the return to inner peace. Sagittarius, you were never meant for half-hearted love. Your soul craves something deeper. Something that speaks your truth without you needing to explain it. Something that feels like expansion, not confinement. And now, after all you've walked through, false starts, almost loves, connections that looked right but felt wrong, you are finally approaching what your spirit has long prepared for. Love that meets you soul to soul. Not the kind that enters your life to complete you, but the kind that arrives because you've already begun completing yourself. In this moment, your energy is radiant with clarity. Your recent shedding of relationships, beliefs, old versions of yourself has made space. And when space opens, something always comes in. The question is, are you finally ready to allow in a love that doesn't make you work for it? Because that kind of love, it doesn't knock loud. It doesn't play games. It doesn't confuse you with hot and cold signals. Instead, it shows up softly, respectfully, and with presence. You'll feel it in their silence as much as in their words. You'll recognize it not through a spark of adrenaline, but through a strange stillness in your chest, the kind that whispers, "You can exhale now. You are safe here." For some Sagittarians, this love is already around you. Perhaps in someone you overlooked, or in someone new who enters your orbit soon. For others, this is the moment to call it in. Not by chasing it, but by vibrating at the frequency of the love you want. So ask yourself honestly, do I truly believe I am worthy of the love I long for? Have I forgiven myself for the times I settled for less? Am I willing to be seen, not the polished version of me, but the real one? These are not rhetorical questions. These are keys. Because soul love only enters through unlocked doors. And it's not just romantic. The soul-level connection on its way to you might take the form of a creative partner, a spiritual teacher, a friend who feels like family, someone whose presence lights you up not by completing you, but by mirroring back your own light with reverence. This connection will be based not on convenience but on recognition. It will challenge your old patterns. It will require a new kind of intimacy, the emotional kind, the here I am unarmored kind. But Sagittarius, this is what you've been preparing for. All those years of almost, all those nights you held yourself in the dark, all that inner work, they weren't in vain. They were rehearsals. And now the real thing is taking the stage. But to truly receive it, you must let go of the scripts you've outgrown. That love needs to be earned. That desire must come with compromise. That you're too much when you're honest, or too complicated when you're real. None of those stories were ever true. They were just reflections of people who couldn't meet you where you were. The new chapter doesn't require you to dim your truth. It asks you to walk in it. And when you do, love doesn't just appear, it aligns. Here's what I see. You will soon encounter a moment, a glance, a message, a conversation that feels oddly fated. Don't brush it off. Don't overthink it. Your soul will recognize the energy before your mind understands why. And that, Sagittarius, is the opening. But here's something else, maybe the most important part. This love is not a destination. It's a reflection of how much you've already come home to yourself. If you're in a relationship now, this energy will either deepen your bond or bring into focus what's no longer aligned. If you're single, the invitation is to stop waiting and start living as if love is already within you, because it is. You are not waiting for love. You are becoming it. So take a deep breath. Exhale the pressure. This isn't a race. The person meant for you will never ask you to abandon yourself. They will never mistake your fire for something to extinguish. Instead, they'll admire it, tend to it, and let their own light rise beside yours. And when you meet them in whatever form they arrive, you'll know. Not by the speed, not by the drama, but by the peace, because real love doesn't strike. It arrives. Sagittarius, you're not just heading toward love. You're finally ready to receive it in the form it was always meant to take. Conclusion: stepping fully into your new life. Sagittarius, you've come so far. You've navigated storms that would have sunk others. You've walked through chapters where the only compass was your inner fire, still flickering even in the dark. And now, as this message finds you, you stand on the edge of something new. Not just a phase, but a complete energetic upgrade. You are not who you were a year ago. Not the version who tolerated less than they deserved. Not the one who made themselves small just to fit in someone else's story. You are wiser, softer where it matters, sharper where it counts. Your soul has been forged in the quiet, in the questions, in the nights where your only companion was your own breath. And now is the time to live the life that was always meant for you. A life where you no longer chase approval, but align with truth. A life where you are not constantly proving your worth, but simply being, and that being is enough. A life where joy isn't a reward for suffering, but a natural state that flows when you are rooted in your purpose. Here's what I know. The universe doesn't withhold. It waits. It waits for us to say yes to ourselves, to our calling, to the love we truly deserve. And Sagittarius, you've said yes in silence so many times. Now it's time to say it aloud. Yes, I'm ready. Yes, I choose alignment over approval. Yes, I release what no longer serves. Yes, I'm stepping into the chapter that mirrors my true self back to me. So if something stirred in you during this journey, if your chest felt tight with truth, if your spirit whispered finally, then anchor it. Claim this shift. Red triangle pointed up like this video, not for metrics, but as a message to the universe. I'm here. Red triangle pointed up, share it with someone who needs light. Red triangle pointed up, subscribe, not for content, but to stay tethered to this sacred current that flows through each message you're meant to receive. This is not the end. It's a beginning, a portal into deeper self-love, richer connections, bolder dreams. In the next video, I'll guide you through how Sagittarius can build a life of both freedom and emotional security. No more choosing between wildness and roots. You were born for both. Until then, breathe this in. You are not behind. You are not too late. You are exactly on time for your own becoming. And the best part? You haven't even seen your favorite chapter yet.